All right, we're officially doing it. I screwed up more than I've ever screwed up. I even hit live before instead of record. Man, this has been a Curtis Tech disaster. But my man Zach, also known as that Dolphins Realtor, just did an amazing job of being patient with the Monkey Man. So before we get into it, we're going to talk draft. But, you know, I love talking to people. And we just got a conversation. We've been talking a lot. And I just found out he's a two-time world champion of spear diving, spear fishing. That means without the tank and everything. He's two-time world champion. And the stories were unbelievable. But that's an amazing accomplishment, Zach. We'll get into the draft, but man, world champ. I got a world champ on here, man. I'm feeling real special, dude. So thank you for stopping by. Thank you for being patient. We'll talk draft for about a half an hour. A huge draft coming up. But what does it feel like to be a world champion twice?
Twice. It felt like I didn't earn it because my buddy was just so much better that, you know, I had to like – but, hey, you know, it was cool. It was cool. That's
amazing. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. That's amazing. So, all right, spearfishing. I'm sure people here aren't here to talk. Listen to spearfishing. You know, I found it very enthralling and intriguing. Draft. Here we are. You know, the Dolphins. They had this whammy with the Hill thing. Now they got the whammy with the Ramsey thing. What do you think's going on with this first round? Clearly, I think no matter what, they can't screw up this first round draft pick. And so I think there'll be good vibes after the round one, day one. Clearly, though, day two and day three is where it's all about. But what are you thinking with this 13th pick? Do you think Ramsey's forcing us to have to take a defensive back?
No, because I think that it's quite possible that Will Johnson and Jahadi Barron will be gone in that time frame. And then we're going to be stuck with a very strange predicament. It's going to be like Tet McMillan, wide receiver, and Mike Green, and then we can reach for a DT. Or we can move back. So I have this feeling that all of these guys that are blue chips that are being mocked right now, to go later or to us, I just feel like they're not going to be there. And, you know, judging it based on how the draft has gone in previous years, I like using the mock simulations and all that stuff. But one thing tends to be continual, and that's all of the top tier, the blue chips, they're all gone.
Well, okay, let's go. Can we go? Let's go over the blue. Let's go over the blue chips. So you think Shedeur Sanders goes top?
He's not even a blue chip, and he's going to go to New Orleans at very least. So, you know, so of course
you think both the linemen too are going to be gone?
You're talking about Membo and
Campbell.
Campbell, yeah, I think they'll be gone.
Wow.
I think Graham will be gone. The DT, obviously. And then you have like Abdul Carter, Cam Ward obviously is going to be gone. And then, you know, and then you have Will Johnson, Tyler Warren, Jahadi Barron, which, you know, this really is going to lean towards what people, what teams are looking for. Jahadi Barron is actually rated higher than Will Johnson, but he's not a boundary corner. I mean, he played boundary in college, but that's totally different. I think he is going to be an elite nickel corner. He kind of reminds me of Javarius Ward. So if teams are there thinking they can get a nickel, and especially the way that the too high is kind of helping the corners and everything now, and you know what is being targeted the most, that's really nickel. So you know, maybe a team looks really, you know, hard at Jahadi Barron before us.
Wow. So if that's a big scenario for many reasons, you think then we'd have problems even trading back at that stage?
It's possible. And I think we're going to have problems trading anyway, because, you know, in the mock simulators, they're like, oh, you know, 51, 83, I can just get whatever I want, you know? But the truth of the matter is all these teams are going to be looking and they're going, I can get Shamar Turner. I can get, Derek Harmon at 28. There's so much available. It's so deep that I don't think we're going to see a lot of teams that really have their guy and they're like, oh, I have to get this one guy. They're probably going to be more like, lenient to let's just drop to where we are, and there will be a guy.
That would
because
suck.
there's 1 of 5.
Do you think Dart's going before us or after?
After. Yeah, I think Jackson Dart had a lot of hype right after Pro Day, which is pretty typical.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, it kind of settles in, and the league is different than the fan base. Obviously, the fans are just kind of like always hype, and it's pretty easy to gauge that there is far better talent than Jackson Dart. At other positions. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes late first, early second, but I don't think he's going to go as high as some people think he is.
Wow. So again, who do you think? So if in that scenario, who are we sitting looking at 13? And what
I think it's Shamar Stewart, Mike Green, Tet McMillan, Derek Harmon, Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, Tyler Booker, Gray Zabel.
Do you think we go Stewart at that stage? Because he seems like a real Greer guy.
Unbelievable talent. The problem is we're so deep at edge and we're hurting so much otherwise.
Yep.
It's tough, man. But, yeah, I mean, if you're going BPA, then it's probably going to be either Tet McMillan or Shamar Stewart. And I think
he could stop the run, though, at least. I think you could have him almost in the DN spot at times.
Yeah, he's versatile for sure. He's a little light to be on that line all the time.
Yeah.
But, he is versatile. I mean, look, I like the guy for sure. I think that he's a massive talent. I don't think he's Abdul Carter or anything like that. But again, they might feel, T-Mac, Tet McMillan, that's the guy that lets you move off of Tyreek Hill. And then post-June, you're saving a bunch of money. Was it $18 million or something?
Can they move off him post-June, though? Can they move off Hill post-June?
Yeah. I mean, it's
trade or a cut? Trade?
Huh?
In a trade or a cut?
Trade. Has to be a trade. Yeah.
What do you think you can get for Hill if you trade him post-June?
3. A 3 or a good player. And it depends. I mean, look, the Chargers might think that they're really set and they just need a vertical stretch. And, maybe they'll pay a 2 or something. I don't know. You never know. I mean, it's about desperation. It's about what the individual team believes they can do with this guy. Might be worth more,
Wow. I didn't think about the draft laying out like that. Tet McMillan or Shamar Stewart.
Yeah. And then you get into, look, my dream scenario, Will Johnson drops because they're already talking about, the injuries and he might drop and all that. Okay, let him drop to us. I would be happy with that.
You like him?
48, we move up, we get TJ Sanders or we get Walter Nolan if he drops because, everybody's concerned about these behaviorals. And I'm telling you, the guy is the most talented defensive tackle in the draft. So that could be our bong mask, moment.
What about your guy too? Williams, right? Shalik Williams. He's pretty good, right?
You talking about Connor Williams?
No. What's the guy, the D tackle that you like in the second round? What's his name?
Shamar Turner?
No. It was the other guy that you liked.
Tyleik Williams.
Tyleik Williams. Yes.
He's getting hyped, dude. I'm pretty sure he's going to go before.
Really? Before Nolan?
Yeah. Well, no, not before Nolan. Not before Nolan.
No.
I mean, look, it's possible that Walter Nolan drops because of these behaviorals, and he does go after. I couldn't tell you, but I mean, you would have to be a full, like, Walter Nolan is just so damn good, dude. I mean, there are people that project him to be potentially better than Mason Graham,
Yeah.
And anytime you have that even remote conversation, it's interesting, right?
Well, 'cause I think Graham, you're going to get a good guy. You're going to get a guy who's pretty well-rounded. You don't have any problems, but he does have a little like that, lacks that pop. And I know a lot of guys, my man, Frozen Fin fan, Dirk loves Nolan. And I've been studying him. The guy does dominate at times. I mean, it's like, and you can move him all around.
Yeah.
And he really just throws guys around. What's the whole deal with his,
what did you say?
What's the whole deal with his off the field stuff?
I mean, I've heard that he's quit in practice.
He quit in a game too, right?
Yeah, maybe quit in a game. It's stuff like that. It's like he's just got an attitude problem. But, and that might be scary. That could be scary to go in and worry about that. But I just see what he puts on the field is just worth it. He gets double teamed half the time. He's just like, just such a menace there. So I don't know. I like Walter Nolan. I like Derek Harmon, and I like TJ Sanders and Shamar Turner as well. But, as far as the guys that are disruptive, the guys that you really want to, put on that line and know that they're just going to be a menace to the quarterback and to the run game. Derek Harmon, Walter Nolan, TJ Sanders.
You don't even now. What do you think about Grant? For me, the 22 bench rep and the fact that he had Mason Graham next to him kind of offset, but he does look pretty good too, though. No.
I mean, look, the guy has extreme athletic talent. Now, I am concerned that he's that big and he's not strong.
Yeah.
And I'm also concerned that he doesn't like the gym.
That's a great point.
He gets very like disgruntled, I guess, when like something isn't working. You can tell when you watch his tape, like he'll hit like this swim move or something, but like they'll call it and it's just not working for him. And then he just kind of like putters out. He kind of like gives up. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Walter Nolan being pissed because, the game's not going his way and he quits and throws a little hissy fit. That's not okay. But that is somebody who is a gamer that's not being able to game and it's pissing him off. Whereas Kenneth Grant is just like, oh, it didn't work. And I don't like that.
Yeah. With Nolan, I kind of like, he's got a mean streak. And he's got a temper, and there's a downside to that. It's a double-edged sword. But to me, Grant seemed very kind of nice and congenial in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I want some mean streak on the interior. I like Grant a lot. Mm-hmm. I still do, but the Nolan thing, we need some angry people. We need some like violent people,
Give me three. Give me Walter Nolan, and then give me Ty Robinson. He's pissed off.
Yeah.
Like that. And then Riley Mills.
I don't know Mills.
Yeah. So Riley Mills is another one that I just feel like he's going to go 4th round and he's going to be a second round talent. It'll be a killer backup, but he just plays aggressive. He's, just that guy that kind of reminds me of Mason Graham, where he just does everything that you ask of him. But he might not be as physically gifted as Mason Graham. So, and that's okay in a backup. You don't need everybody to be all pros.
No. If you just get a quality backup, that's huge for us.
Yeah.
Especially in the 4th round. So do you think Ramsey's gone or he's going to be here?
No, he's gone.
He's gone. I know he'll do a Jaguars on us, I think, if we don't move off of him.
Yeah, he's a business guy for sure. And he knows what he's worth. He knows the money. He knows, how to manipulate the the team to get what he wants, and that's what he's going to do for sure.
What do you think we can get for him?
Man,
I was thinking like maybe a fourth for next year, and that could conditionally turn to like maybe a third.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Is that hopium, or am I being dour?
No, I think that it's possible. I think that he could even fetch a third too. It just, like I said, it just depends on the team, and what they need. And the problem that I see with Jaylen Ramsey is he's a boundary corner that gets paid way, way too much, probably for where he's at in his career. And, I think that what's going to happen with that whole market is there's not going to be a lot of teams looking for a top dog boundary corner. I think we're so programmed to be like, oh, we need these boundary corners that are going to lock down and everything. Nobody's playing man anymore. Nobody's really playing physical on the boundary except for like a couple of teams. And, look what the Eagles put together. I mean, they're kind of the blueprint, right?
Yeah.
And they did not ask that of their boundary corners. They had, Cooper DeJean coming in and just sniping everybody and causing disruption. And then if you go back to 2023, who was the top dog? It was the Ravens. How did the Ravens play?
Same thing.
Same thing. So, yeah, I think that the demand for a nickel is going to be very high. And unfortunately, we're just not going to do it because Kader Kohu is like too much of our development plans. So I don't think Jahadi Barron is going to be the pick anyway. But
yeah, I thought he would go before Johnson. I was hoping that Johnson would be there for us. But then again, as you said, he can't tackle, and he kind of shies away from it a little bit. And then you got May, Fields, and Allen, and you don't want those guys on the perimeter with Johnson sitting there. I mean, he's definitely a good talent.
Yeah,
definitely good talent. But even Alf was talking about
Barron?
Johnson. He struggles tackling.
Oh, tackling.
Yeah, tackling. And then because Alf was talking about how we run like cover 3, and we don't really run a ton of man, so we don't need these elite lockdown guys. So
yeah, I think with Will Johnson, that's coachable. I think a lot of the tackling woes that he has is because he's trying to set people up so much that he ends up coming down in the wrong way in order to really have that trajectory to tackle.
That's good info.
He just, how it is in college, man. It's a different game. They want to get that big play, that pick six, that this and that. And
raise your draft status.
Yeah. And you can't do that in the NFL as much. The ones that do, man, those are the greats. And Will Johnson might be able to like figure out that game. But yeah, I'm sure he comes into a team, whatever team he goes to, they're going to be, you need to sit here and make sure that, if the ball comes, that you have that you're not going to let a big one break. So
we go, we go 13, then 48, right? That's the next pick. We have 48.
Yeah.
So you're talking 32, 16. So we pick 16th in the second round.
Yeah.
That's a lot for Nolan to fall. You don't think that there's some teams up there that? Oh,
no way Nolan falls there.
So you'd see we'd have to trade up maybe.
Yeah, we would definitely have to trade up to get him.
I like doing the two roads because you never know. If you were there at 13, what would you pick with this layout that you were talking about? We know kind of if Barron was there, you would choose him and stuff like that. But if it falls in the way you're saying, what do you think Greer chooses and what do you think you choose? Well, not what do you think? What do you choose?
Assuming that I'm not trading back.
Yeah. So trading back would be the nicest.
I'm getting Ted McMillan. I'm dealing with a rebuild at that point because I'm basically saying, well, what's going to happen is I'm not going to get top tier talent where I need it. So I'm going to start pushing out the old and making room for the new kind of. And I would be, trading Tyreek post June, but then, and I like Tet McMillan, and I honestly think that he's got a better skill set for what Tua needs.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Because you got Waddle. Waddle needs to get used. Waddle should be doing the duties that Hill's doing. And then you would have the high point guy, the red zone guy, the, physically imposing his space and, high ball trajectory with his accuracy and location to snag it. I think that'd be a better pairing than Hill and Waddle. I think it's just so pigeonholed with 100%. Those two. I think it would be better. And how's he at blocking? I heard he's pretty decent at blocking, run blocking.
Yeah. Yeah,
at 6'5", he's got to be, right? He's big.
It's just one of those things that he's so big that when he gets to the NFL and leverage is more in play, we'll have to see against certain guys. But he's better than Jaylen Noel or somebody like that.
Yeah,
somebody that's a 5'10", 5'11" guy for sure.
100%. So who do you think Greer's going to go for? You think he'll go for the McMillan, or you think he'll go to Stewart? Because to Stewart reminds me of like a total Greer guy, freak athlete, defensive edge, McDaniel and Greer have talked about that love for edges. What do you think they do? If, not what you do, what they would do.
So who they brought into the top 30 visits was like DT, and what did he do? He did like a lot of DT. It was wide receiver. We had Estrepo. Damian Martinez. So he's looking at running back, wide receiver, all the stuff that we don't want him to look at. And I don't know. I don't know if it's a smoke screen. I know that Chris Greer likes his smoke screens.
Yeah.
But I think there's a little bit of hidden underlying truth to that too. I think that DT, being later, I think that he'll probably pass on Derek Harmon, Walter Nolan in the 13 pick. So
I don't see him going there.
BPA, and if Shamar Stewart is top of his board, he will go Shamar Stewart.
So you think he'll go over Tet McMillan if he's there? He would go he would go the defensive player over the receiver.
He might, but Tet McMillan is higher on my board by 4 or 5 spots. So I don't know how it looks to theirs.
So who do you think would be there at 16 with 48, 16th pick in the second round? Certainly will be there. And where do you think that will play out? I would assume we have to go DT in that second round. And then the side question too, I got 2 of them for you. When do you think we go offensive line? I'm thinking like 4th round.
I mean, it could be, but again, is he going to play BPA? Because if Jonah Savanai, or I can't even pronounce his name. Dude that I like a lot. If he's there, he might go him over Shamar Turner or TJ Sanders or somebody like that. If Josh Connerly Jr., if Donovan Jackson, these guys that are, but then again, if we miss on cornerback and Siobhan Revel is there, or Maxwell Hairston or somebody like that, I can see him going 48 cornerback too.
Yeah, the Savanessa, I like a lot. He struggles in the run game, but he does have an ability to handle power in the pass game.
Yeah,
and I'm a little concerned. I want a guy who's doesn't have a weakness. Like I don't care if he's got super strengths. I'd rather have a guy that's broad based, that he can do everything and pretty well. But obviously handling of power, moving guys in the run game is so important to me. But he could develop it. He's a big guy. Is it true that he struggles a little bit in the run game?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. But then again, their run game was kind of, not great too. So whose fault is it?
That's a great point.
It's like, it's a tough thing to really know, I guess. But here's the other side to that is free agency has some good players available. And if it were me, I would be on the phone right now trying to get Jedrick Wills in and trying to put him at left guard. You know, I know everybody wants to put him at right tackle, and maybe he even wants to stay at right tackle, and that's his problem. But if you could talk him into getting into the guard position and being available for maybe kicking out or something like that if an injury occurred, I mean, Jedrick Wills would be my guy. And then it would be Will Hernandez. We got Dalton Risner. We have, you know, there's options. So it's like, why aren't they on the phone right now trying to get somebody that they can get for a good price?
Well, we don't know if they're not. They could be, right? I guess they could be.
I guess they could be, yeah. I don't hear anything about it, so I automatically assume that they're not.
Great point.
Generally speaking, somebody's going to whistle blow on this.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great point. So you got the third round, those 2 fourths. Nobody knows who's going to be there in the 5th and the 6th and the 7th. That's like, it's pot luck at that stage. Who do you think you would be eyeing in that 3rd and 4th round?
Yeah, so one guy that I really, really like a lot is Kevin Winston Jr., safety. And
I think I've seen. Yeah, I think I've seen him mentioned.
Man, and I've seen some really good. That franchise guy did a good one about it. He says, you know, everybody's looking at Nick Manwari as the guy that, you know, can like the jack of all trade, the Swiss Army knife of safeties, you know, has it all. He's like, but Kevin Winston Jr. is that guy that people should be talking about. And I see it, man. I look at the tape and I'm like, I can't believe that he's not, you know, higher on boards. And he might be. This might be just the NFL and the PFNs and all that stuff having this guy dropping to 85 or something like that. But, you know, as you get further back, obviously you can use future picks or you can use back end picks and get more value because these guys are going to be available. There's a lot of players in the top 100 that are worth moving a 6th round pick or something like that for 10 spots to go and get.
So how do you think we're going to end up with a good draft? You know, you think we're going to end up doing well? How do you think, how's your antennas with Greer? And do you think Greer is really in charge still? Who do you think's in charge at this stage?
Yeah, I think Greer's in charge. I think he's a control freak. You know, and I know that there's been things of like, oh, I just kind of let the coach make the decisions and it's on the coach. I don't think that's the case.
I don't buy that either. Do you think he's on the hot seat?
Yeah, he better be. I don't know. He better be.
He should have been for how many years?
Yeah. You know, if he fails this draft, he should be fired. There are way too many players in this draft.
And with our needs.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you could go so many different ways and have a good draft, pull it off with a starting caliber cornerback, a starting caliber defensive tackle, a safety, you know, offensive line. You could have 4 starting players in this draft with just moving up in the bare minimum. And if he doesn't do that, I don't know what exactly he's even seeing on his board.
Yeah, I don't like, I don't like Greer. I think he's done a terrible job, but I think he's going to have a decent draft. I don't think it's going to be an amazing draft, but I think that he has so much opportunity with that first, the second. The third is really far back at 98. I think he'd probably behoove him to use that 98 and get up a little bit and try to get 3 excellent players, or, guys that are at least going to contribute this season. And then, roll the dice on some guys in the middle rounds. There's some guys in the 4th round that they can get on the offensive line. I don't think they really view that as a critical thing like some of us think. So I think he's going to come out with a pretty decent draft. The thing is, though, this team's got so many holes. And I don't know if the win total will be indicative of what the team's really about. I mean, for me, I want to see consistency, run game, interior, not folding like a cheap lawn chair, playing on the road, bad environments. I think if you can do that, even if you don't get that win total, you're still stuck in that no man's land of 7 to 9 wins. It could be a win. That doesn't feel like a win to me because I just think as long as Greer's here, it's not going to be a winner for us. But I can't imagine him screwing this up. I mean, obviously, if he screws it up, that would be like mind-blowing. I mean, that would be the death knell. But then, unfortunately, if he does well in a pretty manageable draft, then it means he's going to be here maybe even longer, 11, 12 years.
I mean, if I'm GM, I'm looking at all of the prior mistakes that I made and how I built this team incorrectly. And I'm going to try and make all of the pieces, the weapons younger, or I'm going to focus heavy on the trenches, or I'm going to try and do both. And I think that what he does is he goes into it and goes, okay, yeah, I get what I did. I'm going to do both. And then he just sees blur. I don't know. Something will fall and he'll be like, I got to have this. And then I got to have this. And then I got to have this. And then next thing you know, you're at round 5 and you got nothing that you needed, and that's my concern. Like I keep going back to when the Eagles moved up to pick Davis. What's his name?
Devontae Smith?
No, the DT that's like massive.
Oh yeah, to the 9 spot.
Yeah, this was the year after Jalen Carter, I want to say.
Oh, it's after Jalen Carter. Oh, I don't know his name. Yeah,
he's massive. He's like 6'8". He was hurt a lot last year.
No, I don't know who that is.
Tackle.
Oh well, I don't know. I gotta check it out, man. I don't know.
Davis. He's a Georgia guy. I can't remember his first name, but I just remember everyone saying, well, no, they don't need that. They have Jalen Carter. They blah, blah, blah. And the Eagles said, no, we're going to focus on trenches still. And they picked this guy 10 spots higher than what he was. And everybody said they're reaching. But, man, they got the best defensive line in the game. And they won a Super Bowl. So,
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like Howie Roseman focuses on the trenches. He doesn't always every draft, but he makes sure those are taken care of. But then we got Greer who goes the opposite. It's about edges, it's about skills. So I don't understand Howie. If you just mimic Howie, like he likes to mimic teams, I think he'll be all right. But it'll be very interesting to see how he plays it. And I think too, he runs the risk if he starts. When you start diversifying all across the board, you run the risk of missing. I think in some ways it's good to just, stay in a few areas and try to isolate it, get some redundancy and try to make sure you get everything taken care of, at least in a few spots. There's no way you can take care of adding a young receiver, adding the offensive line, getting tight end help. Maybe you want to add a backup quarterback, defensive interior, defensive edge, safety, corner. There's no way. And I think if you try to hit everything, you can kind of come away with a lot of nothing.
Yeah, but you can do that better in the early rounds, right?
Yeah.
It gets harder in the later rounds. The early rounds, you have to – I want to say there's a threshold. There's a line in the sand with these players. If you have some guy that is a defensive tackle, like say it's Walter Nolan or Kenneth Grant or Derek Harmon, I don't know who's highest on their board. But if you have done all the scouting and all of the work to determine that this is your guy – and your need is that defensive tackle,
go get him.
If you're that confident in that guy, why waste it on, another edge? If he picks Mike Green, I'm going to go out of my mind. We just signed Quentin Bell. We have Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson. Yep. We have a fit. If we spend a 13 pick overall on an edge, I'm gonna lose it.
I think he's a little he looks like he's melting down over the last 2 conferences. He doesn't look mentally well. He looks frazzled, but I don't think he'll do it. I think that's even beyond the pale for him.
Yeah.
I think he understands that he can't do his cutesy stuff, and there's a lot riding on it, and maybe there's not. So I don't know. So what do you think ultimately this team is going to play out to be? Say you have a pretty good draft, you get 3 starters, which I think it's hard to get 3 starters. But say you do. What do you think that this team will look like, and what do you think their production could end up being theoretically in the season?
Yeah, so if they miss on offensive guard, left guard, and they go and they get Will Hernandez or Jedrick Wills or somebody, then we're talking about it differently. But if Chris Grier tries to do the Liam Eichenberg is the starter at left guard kind of thing, I'm not going to be very confident in.
Yeah, the token competition with the guy in the 4th round or something,
Yeah, I mean, look, a Johnny Cornelius or whatever, all these guys that are like, I mean, maybe Miles Frazier in the 3rd, something like that, and maybe I'll be a little more confident because I do think some of these guys are going to fall that are starter caliber. But, I mean, starter caliber, when I say this, I'm thinking of it's definitely better than Liam Eichenberg.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand why it's so difficult for him to shed away that pride and go, this is a very important element of the football field. I need to target this. But yeah, if he picks up somebody that is I'm confident in that. And again, it's one piece that could determine the entire way that the offense is run. And it seems simple enough. Just go and do it. But I can't tell you 100% if he's going to or not. So I don't know. That could be the difference between 6 games and 12 games.
It could be. I mean, well, we got to wait and see. I mean, like you said, there's guys out in free agency. Can you afford him? Will they want to come here? There's that whole thing. The only downside, the good side is we know what we need. He knows what he needs. But the bad side is other teams know what we need too. So they might be looking to trade in front of us as well. There might be some bidding wars. So it'll be up to him to also jockey and play that out. And, I remember last year was a bunch of linemen we were looking at, and he just seemed to be gobbled up by the Steelers. I remember Warner getting taken before of us in the draft by the 49ers, and we ended up with Baker. So there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff and exciting stuff at his draft, but it's going to really come down to high acumen by Grier. I'm not too confident but I think he'll still come out with a pretty good draft no matter what. But we got Kamara. What's that guy doing? That's a pretty useful pick right there. That's just kind of, we got to see him develop.
I like Kamara. The thing about it is with edge rushers, I think I make it a policy to never draft a guy that's 6'1" or less.
Yeah, and short arms.
I just don't like it. They always have bend problems. Anytime you tell me a guy is physically limited, but he's got like a lot of will, a lot of drive, a lot of high motor, all that stuff. I'm like, all that is good, but it's not the complete package. It's not something that I'm going to be able to develop,
I think the problem with him is he's got short arms, he's short, and he's got a nice first step, but that's not, and he struggles against the run. At least he did last year. So I don't know, it'll be very interesting. That's a big pick.
Because that's what he was probably best at in college against the run, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that goes to show you the evaluations, the analysis coming out of college. It's just it can be completely different, and maybe he needs a year to develop or something like that.
Yeah,
like
certainly
said,
by his 3rd year, it's got to be done. Certainly by his 3rd year. This year, you can give him a break. Sophomore years where it's really, or else going to get into the Tyndall easy category. Yeah.
Well, I think that Channing Tindall can be an asset still. I just think that they're playing him wrong. Probably because of the scheme, but they're asking him to cover, and the guy can't cover. But then they bring in Willie Gay, who's not great at coverage, and is more of the guy that you want to spy the quarterback. So I don't understand why they don't use Channing Tindall in those situations, because he's been good at it. He's shown that he's good at it in the NFL. The second that he's got to cover, I mean, you know, and obviously plays develop in different ways, and sometimes you just got to pick a guy up. So it's tough to tell a guy that you're only going to do this, but you know, there are ways to put him in positions to succeed, I believe.
We struggle with that too. Hopefully it changes this year. So anyway, I appreciate you stopping by. You had a lot of great knowledge, a lot of stuff for me to think about. I really certainly thought at least Johnson or Barron would be at us with 13. But man, if that doesn't play out that way, that's going to be very, very interesting. Appreciate your knowledge. Get ready for this big draft. I'm definitely looking forward to talking to you after the draft. I got to sit down and do some more looking over this thing. But I hope everybody enjoyed. I mean, Zach's a great guy, and he really works hard to understand this draft. It's not easy. I'm a small tadpole in this thing, so I appreciate you stopping by. Check him out on the Twitter. He's there. He's a very reasonable and rational guy, and he's a very nice guy. So support him there on the X Twitter thing.
With X.
So Zach, I appreciate everything, brother. We're definitely looking forward to talking to you. We'll be talking to each other throughout the draft. I will catch up with you soon. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Curtis and Zach saying, be well, go Fins. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.